Hi everyone. Thanks for the excellent introduction, Hannah. Although I think I probably wrote that, didn't I? Um, so yeah, I'm here to talk to you a bit about no code and AI. I about 5 minutes ago thought I needed a slide to start the presentation with, so I got AI to generate an image, and this is it. This is supposed to be people using AI and no code in the creative industries. So if you can spot yourself in there, well, just have a look. There's someone with a cello on their back. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're the person that hasn't got much of a body going on. But yeah, I think AI still got a lot of work to do when it comes to generating images. So a bit about me. I studied law and business at university, and then I became an accountant. And then I gradually ascended up this little staircase that represents my career. I went into microfinance after being an accountant because accounting is quite boring. And actually, I really wanted to be in the creative industries myself, but I never had the guts or the talent to do it. And then I ended up going into startups and working a lot with smaller companies, which are just really exciting because you get to do a bit of everything. But all the time, I really just wanted to be able to build little software products, little apps, and I just wanted to be able to code, but I could never get it to stick. I tried learning loads of times and I could never do it. So eventually, I met someone in my hometown of Norwich who became my tech co-founder, and we started a company together that did communications for prisoners in UK prisons. And so it was a app. We had loads of developers, but I again wasn't doing any of the coding or anything like that. I was doing everything else, operations, marketing, business development. But still, I really wished that I could build stuff with code. And then in about 2019, I discovered that actually there are loads of platforms out there that let non-technical people, or rather loosely technical people, but people that can't code like me, to actually build things on the internet. And that was really exciting. And eventually, a couple of years ago, I left the company, the prison company, and started just doing this full time because I just enjoy it so much. So I divide my time now between freelance development. So someone needs an app, they come to me and I'll build it for them. And I'm using no code tools, so I'm not writing code, but they don't mind as long as it works. I teach other people how to do the same with no code tools because I find it very empowering to be able to just sit at my desk and build stuff without leaving the house. And so I'd like to teach other people to do the same. I also build my own products. So if I have an idea for something that I think should be out there, I build it and then I try and get people to pay to use it. And as Hannah said, I'm also the co-founder of a community called Create With. And we are all about empowering people to build stuff with no code and AI, particularly, regular citizens who have no training in technical stuff. And we run a conference in London. Well, we've done one so far, and we've got another one coming up in May. So I'll tell you a bit more about that at the end. But in terms of the products, I am currently building. I've got two at the moment, which I call Typoro and Autoclips. Typoro is like a LinkedIn AI generation or writing tool and scheduling tool. Autoclips is well, this one's quite embarrassing because I think it's quite uncreative, but it's a AI video generator for TikTok and YouTube. And I don't particularly like the videos that it generates, but I'm working on it with someone else and people seem to like it. So we are still working on it, but this is not one of my proudest builds, I'll say. And the other two things that I've done of note, one was called Yep.so, which is like an AI powered website builder. And actually managed to sell that, and Whisper Page as well, which was a similar AI powered website builder. And I sold that too. And then the community is called Create With, as I said, and those are some photos from last year's conference. But yeah, as I said, I'll talk more about that later. So what is no code? For some of you, this might be the first time you've heard this term. So I just wanted to give you like a brief history of no code development. So some of you may be old enough to remember when MySpace and the early days of Facebook and Bebo and things like that, and bulletin boards on the internet. Those were kind of the earliest days of no code development where Before that, if you wanted to have a website on the internet, you needed to know how to code in HTML to get it up there. When MySpace and things like that came along, you could actually get a page on the internet all about you, but you didn't need to know how to code. You just need to type in plain English and drag things around, and the website would be up. And then we had the launch of things like WordPress, which you probably heard of. It powers like 60% of the internet. And again, it's a kind of drag and drop solution where you don't have to know any code and you can build blogs, but you can also build quite advanced websites that are mainly static content. They don't really do much, but they can be like magazine websites and things like that. And then there was Squarespace as well, which is a bit like WordPress, but a bit more sleek looking. And then around 2012 and onwards, we started seeing the rise of more advanced no-code builders. So the one I use a lot is called Bubble. And if you think of WordPress, but with way more functionality that enables you to really build fully functional apps. So not just static websites where you can click around and go to different pages, but apps that actually do all kinds of things, just like the apps you see that are written with code, just like the apps you use every day. That became possible with the invention of things like Bubble, and then later Webflow, which came along, which was more about designing nicer looking websites and things like that. And then coming on to more recently, the last couple of years, where there are a bunch of tools that enable you to create websites and apps with AI generating the code. So instead of dragging and dropping stuff onto a page and making workflows with AI, you can actually just prompt it and it will generate an app for you. These are still very early on, but I've tried a few of them. And sometimes if you can get it working, it is crazy what you can do. And I'm going to show you a bit of that in a second. So I've not got many slides. Most of it's just going to be showing you stuff. But this is like the key slide to understand. So this is how no code and AI fit together. So at the bottom of this pyramid, you'll see AI tool users. So most of you are probably in this bracket here, AI tool users. So you might have used ChatGPT, you might have used Google's Gemini or Claude. You might have tried typing in a prompt and just seeing what will come out. The majority of people in society will be, or are already, or will be at some point in the near future, AI tool users. So they are using tools that other people have created. The next level up in terms of skill level and difficulty, but still very, very attainable for a lot of people, is automating with AI. So this means you are taking those AI tools from the bottom of the pyramid, but you're building you're building automations into your daily tasks so that AI is being used, but you're not necessarily having to go to ChatGPT to prompt it to do something. So, for example, you might have an automation that says, when I get an email from a certain person, create a folder in my Google Drive, create a document, do this. And then you might say, get AI to draft a reply to the email for me and even send it. And so you can automate all kinds of stuff, almost everything that you can think of, using a bunch of different tools. And that's kind of a way of using AI that's beyond just accessing it through a normal kind of app interface. Then the next level up, which is where I spend most of my time, is building AI tools with no code. So I use tools like Bubble or Flutterflow or WeWeb to build actual products or software that incorporate these AI models. So I'm still using OpenAI under the hood. I'm still using Claude, but instead of using them via their ChatGPT interface, I'm using them via an API connection, which means basically through like their backdoor. And I am building apps on top of that. So software that I can completely customize the user experience. But it will still run off prompts that I write that are then sent to OpenAI and come back, and that way I can effectively make what's called an AI wrapper so that other people might see value in the product I've created. So let's say my LinkedIn post writer. The idea is you put in what you want to write a post about, and it uses AI to write that post for you. And I am just using OpenAI in the background to do all the AI stuff, but I have fed it custom prompts so that the output is better than what someone could do if they just went to ChatGPT. So that's building AI tools with no code. I'm going to talk about that as well. And then the final layer, the ultimate difficulty layer, but still way less difficult than learning code and writing this with code, is using these AI tools where you can actually build tools just by prompting AI to write the code for you. So this is like no code isn't really the correct term for this, because there is obviously code because the AI is writing it, and sometimes you can see that code being written. But you don't need to really understand that code. You just write in plain English, and it's like talking to a team of developers. So I'm going to go through all of these, hopefully all of these four layers. The main thing I want you to come away from this with is not feeling overwhelmed. You don't have to take in everything I say. You don't have to understand everything. I just want you to be aware of what is possible, and just know that you can go out there and just learn it by just watching YouTube videos. It's not unattainable for someone who does not know how to code to be doing any of this stuff. So, sorry, right. So, hopefully you can see my browser window here. So the first thing I want to do is go through a few AI tools for you, which I think many of you, as I said, are probably at that level of using AI. But I wanted to apply them, or talk about a few that I think are specifically useful to people who are studying or people who are in academia. So back in 2013, I think it was, I actually did a master's, and I had a paper that was actually released into the public domain. So this is what I did my master's on, risk management in the microfinance industry. And I wrote this report, and so I dug it out on the internet, and I wanted to see what I could do with it. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard of this tool called Notebook LM, but I think it's really useful if you're a student or if you're an academic, because you can basically, this is made by Google, you can upload on the left-hand side a load of different sources, and then you can just chat to them. So you can upload loads of different research papers, and then, for example, I uploaded my paper and I said, what are the three most interesting points from this paper, because I can't actually remember what it's about. And it gave me a really good answer, but it also gave me all the different sources of where it's got this information from. So this is obviously very useful. I'm not saying you should use this to write your own papers, but it's very good for research and for storing information. But the other cool thing you can do with this is you can actually, at the touch of a button, you can get it to generate a podcast, which is discussing whatever sources you have uploaded here. So this is one. I mean, it takes like 30 seconds,
All right,
and then you
so
get something like this.
today we're going to take a deep dive into the world of microfinance.
Sounds good.
You've sent over a ton of research on this,
Right.
and I think it's going to be a fascinating discussion
Yeah.
about how this industry manages risk and the surprising influence that lender values have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's really fascinating about this topic is that, it's all about empowering people, people who are often excluded.
Right, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but that was just two AI voices, which took about 30 seconds to generate. And it's a whole podcast of these two people going backwards and forwards, talking about whatever topic you've given them, whatever the most boring research paper in the world, and they will turn it into a quite engaging sounding podcast. So this is one way that either you can, use to augment your own learning, or secondly, you could just say, okay, I've finished my research paper now. Here is a podcast that everyone can listen to about it. And I just think it's a really cool tool, and they sound really convincing. The second tool is called napkin.ai, and this is currently completely free, I think. But essentially, you can get it to generate these diagrams based on whatever you put into it. So if I go back, so all of the diagrams that I had in my slides, I just typed in what I wanted, or I could have pasted in my bio, and then it can create custom diagrams to illustrate that. So if you have like anything where you need a framework or you need diagrams for your for your research, this is a really good way of doing it. And when you click this button here, it just gives you a bunch of different options, and you can obviously customize them all. So I could just scroll through here and see like which one makes the most sense for what I want to say. And yeah, I don't know if you've ever tried to make your own custom diagrams, you'll know that it's extremely time consuming. So this is really good. And sometimes it will actually like augment what you've put in there, and it will use AI to actually expand on what you said, which can, both be good and bad depending on, and this one, it's even actually come up with a load of different tools as well. So this is well worth trying out if you ever need to have diagrams and stuff like that. Then this one is called gamma.app. So what you can actually do is, I just want to show you this. I did practice this earlier, but I want to show you in real time because it is so good. So I'm going to upload a file, and I'm going to upload my entire microfinance risk management paper. And so this can basically create websites and presentations from whatever information you give it. So if I wanted to create a web page, I just tell it I've uploaded the document, and then I'm going to tell it to generate the text content. I'm going to say I want it to be brief, and I can get it to split all the information into separate pages for me. And within like 20 seconds, I'm going to have a website which I can send people to. So click continue, choose what I want it to look like, generate. So this is the cool bit because you can see it just writing it all like in front of your eyes. And obviously I can go into this and I can edit it, edit any of the wording, move things around. Uses AI to generate images, but you can upload your own images. And then I can just click publish this website, and it will be online, and then I can share it with people.
Kieran, I've just had a question in the chat that feels like one that's worth interrupting you for. What's this website style AI software called, please?
This one is gamma.app. So if you can see up here on the left, GAMMA.app.
Thank you. If anyone else has questions for if they're kind of simple ones like that, do feel free. Well, I talked to Kieran about this before we started. Do feel free to ask during.
Yeah,
thanks, Kieran.
absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt your flow.
No worries, anytime. Yeah, so this is now a website, it's got a link, and I can share this with anyone, and it's gone through my whole paper and kind of explained it really succinctly. So obviously you can use this to make PowerPoints, which is also always a very time consuming thing. But yeah, it's just a very good way of articulating like complex messages in kind of a simple way. So that's the end of my tools section. So next up, I'm going to talk about automating with AI. So this is a tool called make.com. And it essentially means you can take a load of different tools that you may use. So you might use Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Drive, Airtable, Notes, Microsoft Word, any of those things. And you can connect them all together into flows that look a bit like this. And in the middle of these flows, you can put in AI. So all of these green ones you can see here is just OpenAI. So the people behind ChatGPT is using exactly the same models, but I can automate the whole process of these AIs doing stuff. So this automation here, it watches a Google Drive folder that I've got. If I upload an audio file to that, which is from like a podcast recording or something, it will transcribe that. It will then think of a title of the interview. It will then create a new Google Doc, and then it will do three things. It will create content for an email newsletter that I can send out, and it will save that into the Google Doc. It will create some action takeaways that I can share on social media, and it'll save that into the Google Doc. And then it will create a YouTube description for me, and it'll save that into the Google Doc. So I'll just show you just to prove that it works. Let me just see. So I'm going to upload an audio file now of an interview, and then I'm just going to run that. And this will start going. So this bit takes the longest, which is transcribing, but we'll come back to this in a second when we'll see how it's done. But so make.com is one automation tool. The other one is Zapier. Zapier is slightly easier to use and slightly more user-friendly, I'd say. So if you want one that's a bit easier to use, I'd go for Zapier, but you can basically start and get AI to make your automation for you. So I could say when I upload file to Google Drive, transcribe it, and then make a Google Doc transcription, and it will essentially create the automation for you. And then all you need to do is link it up with all your accounts, and there you go. So definitely, if you work in a university, you've probably got a load of different things where you're sending different information to different people, creating documents, things like that. This will tie into your calendar, it will tie into your email, it will tie into all of your folders, any other systems you use, Slack or anything like that. You can make really, really complex automations using this or Make. And yeah, it's just a huge time saver. And I think people that know how to use AI at this level are going to be super useful. So if you're a student now or soon to be graduating and you're looking to enter the workforce, even if it's in an industry where, well, I mean, this kind of stuff is applicable in any industry because everyone uses tools like this. Everyone has jobs that need to be done and repetitive tasks. And if you go into a workplace and say, yeah, I know how to do all this stuff and automate it, I think you'll be a pretty valuable person. So, yeah, so you can see this whole flow has now run. So if I go back to this folder here, it's created this Google Doc for me, and you can see it's got the newsletter content here, and it's got some takeaways, and then at the end it's got a YouTube description for me, so I can just copy that into YouTube. So obviously the quality of the output here is completely dependent on the prompts that you put in. So I have not put much effort into my prompts, so the quality of the output doesn't look that great. But if you put in good prompts here, then there's no reason why you couldn't get like a newsletter completely ready to go that you can just send. And you could even get it to write a draft email for you as well. So that is automation. So next I'm going to talk a bit about building AI tools. So this is a tool that I built using Bubble, which is the no-code builder that I use the most. And this took me maybe half an hour to build. And it's all done using drag and drop interfaces and kind of plain English. So I'll show you in a second how the back end works. But essentially, it's just an AI chatbot. And I've given this an initial prompt to say that you are interviewing someone for a job in McDonald's. But you can give it any prompt you want. So you could have your own custom chatbot that does anything, and you built it yourself. So, it's asking me about my experience in the food service industry. That seems like a fair question. So all of this is, again, running off ChatGPT or OpenAI in the back end, but I can style this any way I want to. And I'll show you the interface. So this is the Bubble interface for building. You start with like pretty much a blank page and you just drag stuff on from the left. So we've got text, buttons, icons, images, shapes, and so on. And then we got groups and we got inputs, all the things you'd expect to see on a page, but you really start from a completely blank canvas. And then if I show some of the hidden elements here, so this is what's called a repeating group. So that is just a way of showing a list of things from the database. And in our case, the list of things I want to show are messages that are related to the current conversation that the user is in. So I just say, do a search for messages, where the conversation equals the current page's conversation, and don't show the system message, which is the one where I tell it you have to behave like a someone interviewing someone for a job in McDonald's. And then it displays them on the page. And as new messages are created, that happens down, where is it here? Response container. So someone types a response into this input, and then they press the button send, and that triggers a workflow. And the workflows are the bits that I think are really cool, because that's where you can say, okay, when someone presses the button send, I want you to create a new message in the database. And as you can see, this is all plain English. Everything is just drop downs, and you just select what you want. So create a new message in the database, reset the input where they typed their message in, then go to OpenAI and do a chat completion, which basically means, do a chat just like with ChatGPT. Then create a new message that has the response from the AI. So I'm saying get the result of this and save it as a new message, and then scroll to the end of the list of messages and then set the focus on the input, your message again. So that's all it is really. But it looks like a fully functional app, and it works like an app, and you can train it to do whatever you want. So Bubble is just a very accessible way of building fully functional apps. And just to show you, so this is Typoro. This is the LinkedIn tool that I'm currently working on. It's not, again, not one of my most impactful projects, certainly nothing compared to the prisoner communication app. But, if you're trying to build an audience on LinkedIn, it is hard to think of content. This is the dashboard of Typoro. You just type in a post about growing an audience on LinkedIn, and then you get it to generate a post. You can choose a post style, and it uses some kind of carefully refined prompts to make a post which is in the style that people who are on LinkedIn like to read. So it's got a nice little kind of hook at the beginning which gets people interested. So yeah, again, not the most intellectual thing, but this is all built with no code. So it looks just like a normal app that you would see, that you would expect has been built with code, but this is all built without code. So just to let you know that this stuff is possible. This was built with Bubble, exactly the same way that this was built, but it's just a bit more complex. That's all. But I built it from scratch in about probably a week and a half. So yeah, so like really there's no reason to think you can't do stuff if you have like I'd say a fairly logical brain, but and a kind of understanding about how apps work. This is the other one, auto clips, where you can generate these kind of videos.
Imagine feeling overwhelmed by everyday tasks. This is the sensation of anxiety.
Again, I wouldn't watch that myself on TikTok, but apparently people do. And it's all totally automated. Like, you give it your topic, it will create a new video every day on your topic, and it will post it to your social media. So if you like that stuff, this is all possible. And then finally, I'm going to talk about building tools with AI. So we've talked about building AI tools with no code tools. You can also build tools or software with AI writing code for you. And you could also build AI tools with AI. So it's getting quite meta, but we are at the top of this pyramid now. So that's kind of to be expected. So this is an app I built the other day in about an hour, just by prompting an AI to code it for me. I don't understand any of the code, but as far as I can tell, it works pretty well. Let me just show you. So I'm signing it. So it's got user authentication, which, if you were coding an app and you wanted to do user authentication, that's like a few days of time already taken up. but this whole thing took an hour. So you can add a video. So the idea is that
Now,
you
what
get
do a hairdryer and a sous
this is
vide machine have
one
to
of my
do?
favorite YouTubers. He does cooking videos. So I'm just going to copy the link there, cooking, and add the video. So the idea behind this is you can put in the link to a YouTube video, and then you can leave time tagged comments on it, and then you can share the page. So if you are like preparing a presentation, you're practicing a presentation, you could record a video of it, and then you could put it on here, and then you could send it out to your mates and say, can you give me feedback on this presentation and things I can improve on?
Now, what do a hairdryer and a
So when I start typing, the video pauses, so I have time to type my comment, then I can press enter.
sous vide machine have to do with
The
chocolate?
comment
Well, I'm
is
going to tell you,
saved,
but this
and the
story
video
starts
keeps
with
playing.
the Dubai chocolate bar, which has overtaken my timeline.
And then I can click a link and share this page with anyone, even if they're not logged in, and they will be able to see all these comments. And yeah, so it's kind of like, it's, you know, a very basic app, but it took like 1 hour, and it's like fully written in custom code, which I could then export and host it wherever I wanted. So yeah, I was pretty blown away by this. And just to show you the process that I went through to make this. So this is an app called lovable.dev, lovable.dev. Oops. So basically I started by saying, I want to make an app that allows the user to paste in a YouTube URL, and then display on the screen, and then type comments and their time tags and all this stuff. I gave it the instructions, and then it says, okay, this is what I think you need. And then it just starts building it. And then it said, okay, you're going to need a database. So can you connect to this other system called Superbase? So I did that, and that was really easy. I just created an account, and then I just clicked connect. And then we just kept going. And then some stuff wasn't working and some stuff was. And so I'd say, okay, this isn't working. And it would say, okay, I'll fix that. And then it would fix it. And so we went back and forth for a while, and some stuff wasn't quite how I wanted it. So I said, can you fix this? Can you make this a bit better? And after this kind of lengthy conversation, but in which I hardly typed anything, show the timestamp in mins and seconds, you know, stuff like that. We ended up with a fully functional app, which I thought was crazy. So I think, like, if you are, you know, doing research and coming up with research papers, so one thing I did, like, if you want to get people really engaged in your research findings, there's like definitely potential to come up with some interesting ways or interesting apps that kind of showcase what you've been doing. So I went to ChatGPT and I uploaded my lender values microfinance paper, and I said, can you come up with some ideas for some simple one-page apps that I could build with this? And then I was trying to find more like simpler ideas, and then when I found one that sounded okay, I said, can you describe it in detail so that Lovable can make it into an app? So it did that. Then I went to Lovable, and I just pasted that entire prompt in, and it just did it. First try, it just made this, what we can see on the right-hand side. And then the only thing I said was, please, can you add some nice gradient colors and shadows? And it did that. And then it's made this thing, which you can click on stuff and it shows you, like, so it's got financial risk up on the left-hand side. I can't remember what is on the, must be social impact on the x-axis, but it's not showing properly, but that's something it could fix with a prompt. And you can like hover over stuff and click on them. And then I clicked publish and deploy, and then it's like public. So now I could just send people to this page and say, what do you think of this? This is like my new research. And they, you know, you could say, okay, add in inputs with like feedback, or let me get, you know, I want to get people's opinions on what they think is like the social impact of a certain thing or the risk level, and then we're going to show you the results. So you could do these cool little surveys, and it's all done just by prompting this app, Lovable, to make it for me. And there's a couple of other apps. There's bolt.new, and there's Cursor, and there's Replit, which can also do similar stuff to this, but this one I think is the most user-friendly. It's the only one where I've actually managed to get something that properly works. And also it's the only one where you don't actually see any of the code, because I find the code quite overwhelming. So I would recommend Lovable if you wanted to build something similar to this. So I think that's pretty much all I had to say. We've made it all the way to the top of the pyramid, but yeah, like, as I said, I don't expect you to fully understand or follow everything I'm saying. All I want you to know is that all of this stuff is possible. You don't have to know how to write code these days. You could use this stuff as a tool to automate the things you do to make your work or your life more efficient. You could also use it to build a complete career from, as I've done. So like, I never thought I would be able to make a living as a freelance software developer, given that I don't know how to code. Well, I have been able to do that for the last few years. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, as building software is getting easier now that people can just like literally just prompt an AI to do it for them. But it's definitely a skill worth having, and it's definitely worth staying loosely aware of all of these tools, because, you know, as a lot of people say, your job won't be replaced by AI, but you might be replaced by another human who knows how to use AI. So I think it's worthwhile, everyone, just having a little play around with these things, just so you know what's possible. You have a vague understanding of what the terms mean, and then if it does come to it, you know, you can find out what you need to know and learn what you need to know to build things. And then finally, I was just going to say, where can I get more information? Createwith.com is the name of the kind of community that I've co-founded with a couple of other guys. We're all about empowering ordinary people, as in non-techies, to build stuff with AI and no code. We've got a conference happening on the 22nd of May at Plexel, which is near Stratford in London. So yeah, you're more than welcome to come along. But otherwise, just go to the website, because we've got a really value-packed newsletter we send out once a week. We put a lot of effort into it. We try and target it at like complete beginners, so we're always explaining like basic terms, and giving people business ideas and talking about the new tools that we've discovered and stuff like that. So that's a really good way to, I think, get started in this whole world. But yeah, I hope this has been interesting, and happy to answer any questions now.